Good morning, everyone. Yesterday in the Rollo Devo, we continued looking at Genesis 40, and we saw that Jesus is at the back of all of our stories. We can look at Joseph's story from the outside and see how God was steadily guiding it, bringing Joseph to the court of Pharaoh so he could be the right man in the right place at the right time to save the family line of Jesus from the famine. Jesus is also at the back of all our stories, guiding them so we can trust him wherever we are and whatever's going on. Yet, that brings up a question of, does that mean that I shouldn't try to do anything to change my difficult situation? And that's a good question. And here in Genesis 40, we even see an answer. You see, Joseph here teaches us about contentment and what that really means. Remember, he was in prison, but he was in a position of authority in the prison. And then Pharaoh's baker and the cupbearer show up, are placed under Joseph's care, and Joseph interprets some dreams for them. And look at what he says after he tells the cupbearer his dream. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office, and you shall place Pharaoh's cup in his hand as formerly, when you were his cupbearer. Only remember me when it is well with you, and please do me this kindness to mention me to Pharaoh, and so get me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen out of the land of the Hebrews, and here I have done nothing wrong, that they should put me into the pit. So here we actually see Joseph's personal feelings about his situation. This is the first time we've seen this. We haven't actually seen this before, and he is very bothered by it. He's so bothered by the great injustice that's been done to him. Anybody would be. And he wants to be free. So he asks for help from the cupbearer. But he teaches us about contentment. And it's a tough balance to strike. Joseph's content here. So how does he balance that? Let's think about that. First, let me define contentment for you, because we need a good definition of it. See, contentment is not laziness. It's not cowardice. That's often the way that our culture views contentment, because it idolizes achievement and idolizes complaining about everything. Contentment is the opposite of envy and complaining, but it's not laziness or apathy. Here's a biblical definition of contentment. So contentment is submitting to God's will for our lives in every condition and every circumstance, because of faith in his goodness, hope in his love, hope in his future, and peace in his love. All right. This is a biblical definition of contentment, but it does not mean that we do nothing to get out of our situation or end our suffering. There's a balance in this definition. You see, when we have this kind of submission to God's guidance of our lives, we can be at peace wherever we are and serve him wherever we are, while at the same time trying to get ourselves out of bad circumstances. But the difference between this definition and what we see in our culture, and sometimes even in ourselves, is that when we're content, we only try to improve our situation through ways that God loves, not by cheating or by other sins. When we're not content and we're envious of somebody else's situation, we often will do whatever it takes to get out of our situation, sinful or not, even very sinful things. But when we're content, we can look at those sinful ways and we can say, no, God does not love that. And it is not his will to change my situation through something like that. So I will wait for another opportunity. I think this is what Joseph did in this story. He probably could have used the authority that was given to him by the jailer to escape. Genesis 39 tells us, quote, the keeper of the prison paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge. Joseph probably could have used that trust to escape and probably gotten the jailer killed by doing it, but he didn't. He simply served God as best he could wherever he was. And then, when an opportunity came along to change his situation in a way that God would love, he takes it. And he asks the cupbearer to explain his situation to Pharaoh, and so that Pharaoh may pardon him. He doesn't know, but he's asking for help. You see, he's content. He's submitted to God's will in the situation, yet at the same time, he tries to use good and righteous ways to get out of it. So think about your situation. Contentment helps us to be at peace wherever we are and serve God as best we can wherever we are, while at the same time seizing those good and righteous opportunities to change things. We have loss right now. All of you have experienced loss in some way. And there are sinful ways to address that, and there are good ways to address it. We can be content like Joseph because we can have faith in the goodness of God, hope in his future, peace in his love, because he has given us his only son to make us a part of his family. So you guys think about that, and I'll see you tomorrow.